And we're live.
Awesome.
After weeks and weeks of not being here, we're here again. Holidays, man.
Yeah,
And nasty colds.
Make it rough to keep a schedule.
Yeah. So does this nasty cold I got. I don't know if it was COVID or not, but I'm still like 2 weeks later trying to get over it.
Sorry, just updating somebody because I had one of the Discord channels I'm in. We were watching a couple videos from the BuzzFeed when they did some ghost hunting episode stuff.
Yep.
And I had mentioned they covered the Goatman Bridge in one of the episodes we were watching. I said something along the lines of, having covered it in my podcast.
We covered it better.
And the girl that owns the server, runs the server, was like, "Wait, you have a podcast?" I'm like, "Yeah, we talk about haunted shit all the time." She's like, "Oh, I'll have to check it out. What's it called?" So I told her. So I just let her know that we're live in case she wants to check it out now. But so yeah, she might pop in. We'll see.
I think it's your turn to go first this time.
All right. We are going to be talking about the Anguished Man. It is a painting that, from everything I could find, has an unknown artist. I could not find a name attached to this artist. It is... Oh, wow. Camera, what are you doing? There we go. It is owned by Sean Robinson of England. It was originally owned by his grandmother, who... yep, there's the painting. I don't know why you would want that in your home, but, whatever.
Just looking at it, it's...
Yeah, I would not want to have that in my house just because it's creepy. Yeah. Haunting aside, it's just creepy. But yeah, so it was originally owned by his grandmother, who apparently knew the artist.
This dude's grandmother owned it?
Yeah.
My grandmother would have never owned anything like that.
Yeah, mine either.
Like ever.
My grandmothers. But she, according to the grandmother, the artist used some of his own blood and mixed it in with the paint when he painted this. And this was shortly before he killed himself, which I'm guessing is where the theory that it's haunted is originated from. But she claims to have seen a figure walking around the house, hearing unexplained noises, hearing a crying sound, and just seeing this random figure walking around her house. So she put it in her attic, claiming the painting was evil. I wonder why she didn't just destroy it. Why is that never the first step?
Her friend painted it?
I guess. Maybe. But so it just stayed in the attic for a while, till she passed away. And Sean Robinson inherited it. He put it in his basement and left it in the basement for a few years until 2010, when the basement flooded and he had to move it out of there so it wasn't damaged. Again, why not just let it sit there and get damaged and destroyed? But whatever. I kind of understand his reasoning, as he was a skeptic. He did not believe his grandmother. He thought she was full of shit. But yeah, so he moved up into one of the bedrooms in his home. And shortly after that, the family started experiencing paranormal phenomena. Most notably, he began hearing the same things that his grandmother had been hearing. The crying, the unexplained noises, started to see the figure of the man walking the house. He would wake up in the middle of the night and see a stranger standing, or see a figure standing at the end of the bed, just standing over him and his wife. His wife claims that one night when Sean was not home, he was away for business, she awoke to a stranger laying in the bed next to her. She freaked out rolled over to turn the light on, and the stranger was gone. Nowhere to be found. No evidence of a break-in or anything. But the part that really finally kicked into them that, hey, something is going on, was when their son felt a presence push him down the stairs. I could not find anything about how old the son was at the time, when this actually happened. But yeah, he apparently was going to walk down the stairs and felt something push him from behind, and he fell down the stairs. In 2011, Robinson started up a YouTube channel, which I have not found yet. I looked for it briefly. I was not able to locate it. A little more digging, I probably could. But he started up a YouTube channel and was posting videos of this painting and the supposed hauntings. As of 2018, there was 9 videos. Each of them claims to catch some kind of phenomena. There's one where a door randomly shuts, seemingly on its own. There's one where the painting actually topples over. And then there's a couple where you kind of see some lights floating around. Some orb type deal. The first video he posted gained over 1 million views within like 2 months. And the whole story became so popularized that forgeries of this painting started popping up on eBay. Robinson has gone on record saying, warning collectors, hey, these are fakes. I would not and have not sold this painting. I still have it. It is in my basement again. It was after his son got pushed down the stairs, they decided, okay, basement's fixed, move it back into the basement, and hopefully that'll stop anything else from happening, and our family won't be harmed. So far, I guess nothing else has happened because he hasn't posted any more videos about it. Hasn't really said anything else about it. It was on a show called Weirder What on Discovery Channel. I guess the purpose of the show, I've never seen it or even heard of it, but it's basically just a show about debunking. So they called in a parent. Jack, what are you doing? Dear, there's a poop on the floor. Can you pick it up? Jack is trying to clean it. My cat apparently just got a turd on the floor in the kitchen, or the dining room. Yeah. So he's sitting there just scratching at it. But anyways, yeah. So they debunk stuff in the show. So they called in a paranormal investigator to come in and look at the videos, watch, or observe the painting, I guess. And the paranormal investigator claimed that the whole thing was a hoax. Says there's nothing, weird or paranormal about this painting. It's simply just a creepy ass painting, which I cannot argue with that. It is creepy as shit. Said that the videos could easily have been faked using fishing line to pull the door shut, to pull the painting down, and strobe lights and flashlights and whatnot could have been used to create the light effects.
Right.
Robinson also appeared in the episode to kind of give his side of the story, and was like, hey, this is what happened to my family. I know there's rumors that it's a hoax, and he said, and quote, a lot of people are skeptical, and I can understand that because I was a skeptic myself, and I still am. But the footage is there for you to see. It wasn't faked. There could be a perfectly reasonable explanation, but I haven't found one yet. So I mean, he straight up says, "Hey, maybe it's not haunted. Maybe there's some rational explanation for all this stuff happening, and I just don't know what it is." So he's sounds like he's still a skeptic, but he's open to the idea that it may actually be a true haunting. He apparently is planning on bringing the story to the big screens. LeBray Pictures, who I believe is a UK based studio, has bought the rights to the film, and they will be having T. Ricks direct it. I don't know who that is. I've never heard the name T. Ricks. So my guess is this would be a rather low budget film. And my guess is it would also be obviously embellished, just like, the Robert the Doll movie was, The Conjuring with Annabelle, where they take a whole lot of creative liberties and just make shit up. The biggest part of this particular story that leads me to believe that it may not truly be a haunting. Now, don't get me wrong, it very well could be. It may be haunted. I don't know. But I have my doubts because the only ones that can collaborate this story are Robinson and his wife and son. Because his grandmother passed away, so she can't collaborate anything anymore. And nobody else has experienced it because he's owned it for decades.
Right.
Literally nobody outside this family has ever owned this painting. And nobody knows the name of the artist, so they can't even fact check the fact that, he killed himself after painting this. So I am skeptical on this one. I do believe there's definitely paranormal shit out there. I'm a firm believer in hauntings and the like. But this one I'm gonna have to give a big stamp of doubt. It's definitely creepy though.
So we've only got his say so that his grandmother experienced all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Because from the sounds of everything I can find, the only one she really ever said anything to was him and his family. And why it was passed down to him instead of, his mother or father or whatever, I don't know. They apparently never experienced anything either. No guests in the house ever experienced.
And why would she not tell anybody else?
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird to me as well. Because I mean, if I had this painting in my house and I was haunted by it, I'm pretty sure I'd be telling everybody I could and not keeping it in my basement.
Yeah.
Or my attic. I would just get rid of it.
Is there proof this guy actually killed himself, or is that more of his say so on? Oh, my grandmother told me.
Yeah, it's same thing. It's my grandmother told me this is what happened. Because she never gave a name for the artist. From everything I could find, I looked at, I think, 5 or 6 different things trying to dig up a name of who made it, who painted it, and I could not find any reliable source. I even Googled, who painted the Englishman, and it came up they gave me like 3 or 4 different names of possible artists. Only one of which had killed themselves. So, so nobody's really sure who painted this thing. And
let's look at this again, because
it's all say so or hearsay is from his grandmother that A, the artist used his own blood in the paint, and B, killed himself afterwards. That definitely looks like the painting of a deranged mind.
Yeah.
So I would not doubt that the artists killed themselves or used their own blood in it. But
why would you keep it around?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is destroying.
Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of like a Dementor from the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
Which I would not want a painting of them in my house either.
I don't know. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's...
And the fact that he wants to go sell the story and make movies about it.
Mm-hmm.
Kinda.
Yeah, that's another thing that gets me is like, are you just doing this for the clout and the money? Is
So he's
this?
never had anybody else come visit his house and see any of this. It's just his family alone.
Yep, yep. And from what I can tell, I mean, I want to go watch this episode of Weird or What and see if the paranormal investigator actually went to the house and looked at the painting, or if he just watched the videos.
Yeah, because I don't just having his say so with nobody else experiencing anything makes it really hard to believe.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
I mean, even the hauntings where people are like, well, my family friend saw it, my neighbor saw it. It's kind of okay, but they live right next to you. If it's somebody who has absolutely nothing to gain from it, that's a whole different story for me.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I definitely want to go find his YouTube channel and check it out. I want to find that episode of Weird or What and watch that and see what they come up with. But
yeah.
And everything I can find other than the seeing a figure walking the house and hearing the noises, the only real big phenomenon that happened were the three, the kid getting pushed down the stairs, the stranger in bed next to the wife, and the figure at the end of the bed. Other than that, it's just, oh, I heard a noise or I saw a shadow move, So it's like, you had it in your home for at least, you had it upstairs, like out of the basement for at least a good 5-6 years, and that's all that really happened. I don't know, man. That shit usually gets a lot more wild than that after that long.
I mean, if it's causing chaos and that's what it's all about, why would it stop when you stick it in your basement?
Yeah. Is your basement lined with anti-ghost?
Or is it just like, hey, I was just looking for a place of my own. Now that I've got your basement, I'm going to fuck off.
Right.
Which, again, if it's evil, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It's going to want to sow chaos. But, hey, what do I know? It makes a better story like, oh, we stuck it in our basement, and now it's
pacified.
Fine.
We're good now.
Our basement floods with holy water.
We have a priest come bless our water pipes.
All right, so this one comes out of New York. It's the Curse of the Catskills Crone. So back in, I'm gonna say 2015, a couple buddies were out hiking in the Catskills, and they found this. Just happened to come across this cave. And they, out hiking, they got curious, went inside, and this is what they found. This is a picture they took while they were in the cave.
That's creepy.
Yeah, that is exactly what one guy said. It was giving him weird vibes. He didn't want anything to do with it. He was like, okay, I'm done. That's it. Let's just leave. The other guy was like, no, let's take it home.
What? Why would you ever want to take it home?
Given the the amount of Native American population that was around the Catskills and in New York, that would be the last thing I'd want to do just based on that alone.
Right.
But just finding it.
Yeah.
It's got nails in its eyes and a noose around its neck.
Yeah, that's just fucking creepy.
And there was a fire recently in the cave nearby. So while the statue looks old, I will show you a picture of a close-up here. The statue itself looks old. Everything else around it is kind of indicates that there was still fresh stuff going on. There's the close-up.
Yeah, that's really creepy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, even if you took away the nails and the noose,
even without that,
find it.
It's still kind of creepy.
Yeah. So that one guy was like, okay, that's cool and all, but we should probably just leave that alone and not mess with it. And the other guy said, no, we're going to take it home. I like it. I'm taking it home. And that is when shit started going down. January 9th, 2016, a post on Reddit, the paranormal r/paranormal subreddit came. It says, last weekend, my friend and I went hiking in the Catskills near Sundown Forest. I found this really creepy statue while effing around in some caves. It has nails in its eyes and a noose around its neck. Looks like it might be old. I don't think it's been there very long, but it's weird because this cave was way off the trail. Someone had a fire in there not too long ago. The statue really wigged me out, but my buddy decided to take it home with him, even though I told him not to. Everyone says there's a devil worshippers that come out there to sacrifice animals and do spells and other weird stuff, so I didn't want anything to do with this thing. A couple days later, my friend calls me and tells me that he thinks the statue is haunted because it keeps moving from its spot and he keeps smelling something weird in his house.
Was it ganja?
Now, last night, someone knocked on his door, but when he went to open it, there was nobody there. And now he thinks he has a ghost because of the statue. It might be a coincidence, but I think he's actually scared. Before we go set the thing on fire, I want to see if anyone knows what it is, anyone ever seen anything like this, or heard of a statue causing ghosts. Right?
Yeah.
So within hours, the post blows up. You know, you got your skeptics, you got your people saying, well, it's voodoo. You got other people saying, put it back. You get people saying, destroy it. Other people going, well, you're freaking nuts. You're making shit up. You know, one end of the spectrum to the other. Which really, when you're looking for help, doesn't really help.
No.
So a few days later, there's another post that goes up. It says, my friend showed up here at 11:30 p.m. He is out of his mind, scared. Never seen him like this before. I'm going to do what I can to remember everything he told me because there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm trying to keep it short for the post. And he's staying in my house because whatever's in his house is scaring him. They found the statue on a Sunday. I told him not to take it because it was giving me bad vibes, but he took it anyway. Dude has been as atheist as long as he's known him. So when he said, hey, something's going on, he thought he was screwing around at first, but then he was like, you know what? Maybe I'd better listen. It started out with knocks and bangs. He said that by Wednesday, he started waking up in the middle of the night, feeling like someone was watching him. It kept happening throughout the week, and every time he'd wake up, he would smell something that smelled like pond water. Now, if you've ever been near a pond that's, you know, going stagnant, it's got a definite odor.
Oh, yeah.
It's horrible. We're talking like vegetation rotting and just fresh vegetation. And fish. Even if there's no fish in it, you get that weird fishy smell for whatever reason. So anyway, he doesn't believe in any of the paranormal stuff, so he ignored it until the statue moved from his desk to his living room. Ever since Thursday night, it's moved to a different room than where he left it. He thought his dog was moving it around because it smelled, but the dog won't go anywhere near it. The dog had actually peed in the house 3 nights in a row, and it's not something the dog had ever done before. Yeah, and you know, they always say that, you know, dogs, animals are the first things to sense something bad going on.
Right.
So last night, someone knocked on his door at 3 a.m. He went to answer it, and nobody was there. His motion lights weren't on. There weren't any cars in the driveway. He opened the door to look outside, and that's when he realized he'd made a mistake. He started feeling like he shouldn't have opened the door. That's why I made this post in the first place. At this point, I didn't see any reason not to believe him because it had gone way beyond a joke, and he actually sounded really, really effing scared on the phone. He kept telling me that he was going to burn the statue because he knew that something followed him home. He stayed up all night after that, decided to go to the movies, take his mind off it. He got home. He said he felt everything was okay, and he said, you know what, I'm just going to go to bed. And this is where things take a bad turn, as if all this stuff wasn't bad enough. He woke up at 10 p.m. because his dog was going nuts, like barking, how that creepy things dogs do. They spin around in circles and bark at a spot, and you can't figure out what they're doing or what they're saying. Yeah, that's what the dog was doing. The pond water smell was stronger than before, and when he went out into the hallway, he saw muddy footprints everywhere. Not shoe prints, barefoot.
Oh,
All the doors were locked. The doors, windows, everything. There was no way into the house without him obviously seeing it. Statue was in the living room, not where he'd left it. He said he heard someone breathing like his grandfather with the tracheotomy. Those are his words. That's what it sounded like. So he decided, nope, I'm done, and out the door he went, and he ended up staying the night with his friend. He apparently, when he was telling the guy the story, he broke down, started crying. This is when they decided to get rid of the statue, and I don't know why they didn't take the statue and put it back.
right.
But
I mean, that seems like the most likely way of appeasing whatever this is.
Mm-hmm. So then the owner of hold on, I gotta find it's a traveling museum. This is the director of it who's writing all this stuff and relating the story. He got an email from the guy saying, look, I need help. What should I do? So it just said they could take it. If you really want to get rid of it, we'll take it and we'll figure out what's going on. And if we can't, help you beyond that, we'll just take it so you don't have any problems with it anymore. So he writes back, thanks for the advice. Today we went to my friend's house to get the statue and return it. When I got there, I did see the muddy footprints he was talking about, and the whole place smelled like a dog that had just rolled around in the dirt. His dog wouldn't come in the house, so it wasn't his dog smelling the place up. The dog wouldn't even go in the door. He went to show me where the statue was when he left it, but it was gone. It was actually in the hallway with a big crack in the wall, like the statue had been picked up and thrown at the wall.
Oh.
Yeah. And he swear the owner of the house said he never touched it. There's no way he would have picked it up and thrown it at the wall, and risk damaging his own property. But so we said what you said and explained that we were sorry about taking it and we wanted to give it back to the cave and ask what we should do. I don't know if it was the feeling you were talking about. We just felt like we should never go back to that cave again. He said he felt like we needed to send it to you. So we were standing in the hallway talking to it, and the dog started going crazy outside. We both thought we saw a woman standing in the dark corner of his living room. She was totally naked, really old, dripping water, and her eyes sort of glowed in the dark.
Creepy.
She was hunched over near his shelves. We both freaked out and ran out of the house. And it was in the middle of the day. I mean, if it was nighttime, that'd be absolutely terrifying. But seeing it in the middle of the day would be even worse.
Yeah.
Because you expect creepy shit at night. You don't expect creepy shit in the day. Whoever it wasn't there when we finally went back in. We grabbed the statue, apologized again, wrapped it in a pillowcase, put it in a box, and they're just going to send it to you. To answer your questions, I don't see any jewelry or pictures or anything by the statue, but there were a lot of leaves covering everything. There was some broken glass and a cup near the fire. My friend says he thinks there might have been some hair on it, but he brushed it off without thinking about it. Yeah. You're thinking the same thing I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember any weird symbols or anything in the cave. There were a lot of twigs piled around the foot of the statue, but that's it. Everyone has always talked about how people go into those parts of the woods to worship the devil and do ceremonies and stuff. Even when my parents were kids, the woods not far from where we are even called, and they redacted that bit because of it. I told him to leave the statue there because it was probably some weird ceremony out there, but he never believed in ghosts or the devils or anything. So then they put it in the trunk of this guy's car and just said, "Give me your address. We're going to mail this thing to you. And, we're done with it. We want nothing else to do with it. Once it's yours, that's it." So they carried it. They got the box to weird headquarters. I'm guessing it's apparently the name of this traveling whatever. It's like the weird occult museum or something. I don't know.
Interesting.
Okay, so when they got it, they took the pillowcase off, which by that time had gotten stained. From the time it got from the people mailing it to them, the pillowcase was stained. There was rusty nails hammered into the eyes. The noose was tight around the statue's neck. And that was, it says the figure looked menacing, but there were a few things that were a bit confusing about the piece. The carving itself looked weathered and aged, as did the nails. But the rope couldn't have been more than a year old.
Interesting.
The carving had obviously been placed in the cave recently with the new addition of the noose, if the entire thing wasn't just a hoax to begin with. Which makes sense. If you want attention, make some shit up.
Right.
So, they put it in his office and didn't think too much more about it. They sat down to watch a movie, and they started hearing something going on in the office. And they thought, well, it's probably just our cats fighting. So he's like, okay, let's just pause the movie. I'll go break this fight up. And the office door was closed, so the cats couldn't be in the office. They went in and, nothing was out of place. Obviously, the cats weren't in there. The cats were actually in a bedroom hiding under a bed. So he went in to figure out what was going on and nearly stepped on the Jesus that was on the crucifix in his office.
Just the Jesus part? Or
Just
the whole crucifix?
the Jesus part.
Oh.
And I will show you why. The statue, the Jesus from the crucifix, had actually come off the crucifix, and was on the floor.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. So he had almost stepped on that. And I thank you, Louis. So they decided, well, okay, we're not messing around here. If the statue is doing what everybody claims it's doing, if this Jesus coming off the crucifix actually happened, we're going to put this thing under surveillance. So that's what they did. They put, on March 2nd, they put cameras up, motion activated, in the study. Instead of, if this thing is moving, if this thing's causing chaos, we want to see it. We want proof of it. Let's make sure what we've got isn't a hoax like everybody's saying. And I've got, there's video of that. So I will share that. Right there. I don't know if you could see that.
Yeah, it was like slowly turning.
Yeah. Oops. It's
Too
right
far.
there.
Yeah, like
You can see
it,
the
like,
new
turned
side
towards the camera
turning.
more.
Yeah. So that for them was ignore this that just came up in the chat. It's a Russian scam.
I assumed.
They come in, they drop that, and then for whatever reason they'll come back later and delete it.
Yeah.
We had one on our podcast yesterday,
Mm.
and I looked it up. So yeah, that happened, and then later, his wife comes to him and says, "Look, this is going to sound weird, but why did you take a shower and then go stand on the furniture?" And he's, why would I do
What?
that? Why would I do that? And I haven't taken a shower in hours. Well, come with me. You've got to see this. This is all right. He gets curious. And you can see wet footprints on their furniture.
That's so weird.
Now, keep in mind, this isn't the first time they've had the statue has been associated with wet footprints. Yeah. So, and then shortly after that, for a few days, they got the smell of pond water in the house.
Well, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, an intense feeling of paranoia and dread that came with it. And if you remember, that guy, he went through the same thing after he opened the door. He felt, I should have done that. He got feelings of dread and paranoia. And then it got to the point where they ended up for 2 weeks smelling algae, pond water, and they had to whatever. And they were trying to ignore it because that's what they do. That's their approach to bad behavior for haunted items, is to ignore it. And okay, if we ignore it, we're not giving it what it wants. It'll stop. Right. It didn't do that. It got worse.
Well, too bad it wasn't the painting of the English man. Put it in the basement, it would have been fine.
Yep. So here's what this guy did. He says, I stormed into the office, grabbed the carving, marched back into the living room, and slammed it down on the coffee table. I sat back down on the couch, began addressing the entity directly, something that should never be done lightly. I explained that we were happy to give the crone a home, but it was their house with their rules. It's a speech he'd given to most of the objects in the museum at one time or another, and one that tends to work. And here's what he told it. If we'd left you with the hikers, you would have found your way into a fire pit or a garbage can. If you found your way to a priest, you'd be bound and buried, or worse, locked on a dusty shelf for years. We're happy for you to live here, but only if you respect the situation. If you've got unfinished business, we'll help you put it to bed. But if you don't treat us respectfully, you're going in the box. The box, it's where they it's basically solitary confinement for their unruly items. And they thought, well, that'll be enough to. Apparently, that's been enough before to encourage, items to behave.
Right.
Yeah, not this. As soon as he said it, they heard the sound of rushing water from the other side of the house. They dealt with a broken pipe recently, and that was what it sounded like a pipe in their laundry room had busted. They went back in, they looked around. As soon as they got into the hall, the sound stopped. So once the sound stopped, they looked at one another, and then they heard a thud back in the living room. It was kind of like, okay. The crone had rolled off the coffee table and under the television stand. As he reached down to grab it out from under the stand, he heard his wife yell, and he looked up, and she was holding the TV up because the TV had started to come down on top of it.
Oh shit!
Yep. That while she was standing there, putting it back up, they heard 3 loud knocks, hard enough to sound like it was reverberating off the living room wall. It rattled picture frames. The light bulb flickered. It was basically a big F you to, hey, I'm not going into solitary, and I don't care what you say. So that's what they did with it. They put it in the box. They prepared a special box for the statue, wrapped it back in the pillowcase that it arrived in, and closed it with a padlock. The strange sense and terrible feelings disappeared, but the shadowy presence that they felt never quite left. So, they decided, okay, here's what we're going to do. We've got it. We're going to show some people, this is part of our museum. We won't let them touch it. They can look at it, but that's going to be our rule. Nobody touches it because we don't know what will happen.
Right. Makes sense.
Well, people that started viewing this thing started complaining about their eyes burning.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like if you were looking at it, your eyes would burn like it was trying to force you to look away. There was overwhelming fears of anxiety when it got opened. And they said the hands-off policy, don't touch it, really didn't matter because as soon as they opened the box, most people backed up anyway.
Interesting.
And tried to avoid it.
Right.
Apparently psychics and sensitives had the most obvious reactions to the crone. There are some who believed it was created as a vessel for an inhuman spirit. Some believe it was a curse intended to blind and kill an unlucky victim. I don't know if you know who Chip Coffey is.
I don't think so.
He's a really famous psychic. He does a lot of paranormal investigations. He does a lot of one-on-one readings for people.
Okay.
But I saw him do an investigation once where they blindfolded him and took him into a house, and he had absolutely no idea where he was. And he was just nailing information one right after the other, and he couldn't figure out what it all boiled down to until he was told that he was in the house where Lizzie Borden moved after the axe murders. And he was like, oh, okay. So this all makes sense to you now? And they were like, yeah, everything you just told us is everything that happened during her life after she moved into this house. And they were the only people to ever investigate or hear some of that stuff. So there's no way he would have known it. Anyway, he wanted to straight up have the figure exorcised with holy water blessed right by the Pope. Yeah. And the reason for that is he says he doesn't know why it was carved, only that a Babylonian spirit, Marduk, which is apparently a powerful entity with 50 names, is attached to it.
Interesting.
Well, the really interesting thing is that Marduk is often associated with water. So that's where it is right now. They've had for a while there. They had 24/7 live video feed. The feed was interrupted by magnetic fluctuations, light anomalies. Some people that were watching the feed were getting uneasy. People watching it were having paranormal activity happening in their homes
Interesting.
while they were not like before this or after this, but only while the
Right.
feed was on and they were watching it.
Huh.
That could be the power of suggestion, like I'm watching something that's supposed to be highly cursed.
Right.
And they think, the knocks and bangs or whatever it is they're hearing is whatever. But apparently it happened quite a bit. Power outages, electronic equipment failures, burning eyes, and that scent of a pond. And apparently one person claimed to have seen an old woman hunched over, naked, and dripping with water while he was watching the feed.
Oh.
She apparently appeared in his home.
All right.
Creepy.
Yeah. So here's what when they finally got done with the feed, they asked for user suggestions. So they took a voodoo coffin nail, holy water, and a crucifix, and attempted to use those as trigger items for the crone.
Mm-hmm.
And I will show you. There's a a quick little thing on the website here. You just watch the nail next to the crone. I don't know if you saw that. But the EMF meter spikes for a second, and then the nail flicks away.
Hmm.
And that was that's the voodoo coffin nail. It
But
could have just
apparently
fallen over. That could be nothing, but the fact that the EMF, you could see it spike a little bit just
Right.
before that happens.
Then it doesn't look like there's really anything that would cause the nail to fall over anyways.
Yeah. I mean, it's very weird.
Yeah. I'm actually on their website right now. And reading about that hoodoo coffin nail, actually. Apparently, that is from the 1940s to 1950s. And it was they are supposedly they cause the same type of pain that the voodoo priest wanted to inflict on their victims. The one that they have apparently is warmth and heat. They say many guests brave enough to hold the rusty nail are quick to drop it back into its dirt-filled box, eyes wide with the realization that it not only stays warm to the touch, it begins to turn up the heat. So as you're holding it, it starts to get hotter.
So here, they got a message from a regular view of their live feeds. Here's what she said happened while she was watching the crone feed. It says, okay, I won't be viewing Billy, which is apparently the idol of nightmares, or the crone anytime soon on the live feed. I've stayed up and watched your live events and your items being streamed for the past month. I'm a former massage therapist with training in Reiki. Once I started my training was when I really started seeing and feeling the paranormal. After last night's live feed, I stayed up to wish Billy hello. About 4:40-ish this morning, I woke up to the weight of someone sitting on my back. I figured it was our 2-year-old daughter. That's how heavy this was. When I moved, I actually felt each leg-like limb extend and slide off me. My whole body was flushed with heat, and I broke out into immediate goosebumps and sweat. A few moments later, there was a loud bang, followed by my 2 dogs running to the living room from their beds in our laundry room. But the worst part of this is, prior to waking up, I was dreaming that a woman was whispering in my ear that Greg has swallowed the missing crucifix nails, that she dropped them in his mouth while he was sleeping. That's why I wrote you guys. I'm taking everything with a grain of salt, as I know you will. Just wanted to share why I'm not going back to sleep tonight. For my daughter's sake, I'm going to be a bit cautious. I have brought home strays before unknowingly. Now, Greg is the guy that's been investigating the crone. He's the guy that was fishing it out from underneath the television stand.
Mm-hmm.
And he said as soon as he read the message, a cold chill ran down his spine. Because just days after they got it, he came down with severe stabbing stomach pains, which lasted for about a week. They were so bad, he once considered going into the ER to get it looked at.
Damn.
And she had no way of knowing when she had that dream that he was having these pains, but she was told in a dream by an old woman that she had dropped nails down his stomach. Yeah, the missing nails from the crucifix that was on the wall with Jesus. The crone is saying, hey, I dropped him down his mouth. So that is the story of the crone on the Catskills.
That's creepy.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of craziness.
Oh, yeah. How big is this thing? It doesn't appear to be very large.
No, from the way it looks, it only looks about, maybe like that.
Yeah. Huh. Creepy. Yeah, I'm on their website right now. It's called Para Museum.
Yeah. It's very creepy. I came across that one and then I started reading it and it was like, whatever, man. It's like, the hikers are just playing games. But then I started reading more on it. And the more you read, the more people have all started experiencing the same weird stuff.
Yeah.
And where did it come from?
Yeah, that's the thing that really gets me is like, it looks so old. But like you said, the rope was only like a year or less.
Yeah.
So unless somebody found this random statue put nails in it and a thing around its neck, or they're changing out the rope every now and then.
And for there to be a recent fire in glass. And they say that the cave that they found it in isn't one that most people would find. You've really got to go out of your way to even come across it.
That's crazy. Yeah, that one definitely. I'm likely to believe that one, especially from like all the all the evidence and all the people that were like, "Hey, yeah, this weird shit started happening to me just from watching the feed."
Yeah, people that had no way of knowing exactly what was going on.
Right. And the lady having the dream about the lady telling her about the nails. Like that's.
Yeah, how would she even know that the crucifix nails were missing to begin with?
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah, the whole thing is just.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that one under. I believe it. For sure. Looks like we got a couple minutes left. I will. I'm gonna talk about this painting that very much so.
Yeah.
I don't believe is haunted. It is called "The Hands Resist Him." So, supposedly,
I just dragged this. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is.
Where did you put it? Supposedly, this painting is haunted. People say that they every now and then they see the little boy in the picture move, the doll next to him move. and that it's representing hell, essentially, with the hands in the background. The artist, we know the artist of this one. His name is Bill Stoneham. He painted this in 1974. It is based on a photo that his parents took of him and a friend he was playing with when he was just 5 years old. So that creepy boy in the picture is the artist. At the time of painting this, he was working for a local gallery. Owner's name was Charles Weingarten, and he was under contract with this gallery to paint 2 paintings a month for $200 each. He needed something that would inspire him for painting. He was having some issues getting ideas. So he had found this picture that his parents had took, as well as a poem that his wife wrote entitled "The Hands Resist Him." This poem was based off of Stoneham's experience as being adopted and never knowing his true parents, his birth parents. When he painted this, he had a very specific idea in mind. The door beside the boy is representing the divide between the real world and the realm of possibility. Again, what he knew versus the parents he never knew. The doll is supposed to be a guide, to guide him through that realm of possibility, which again could be just like an imaginary friend or some along that idea. The hands pressed against the glass represent alternative lives or alternate lives. So basically, he painted this with the idea that he knew one thing. He knew what was really his life. And he has this doll or imaginary friend that's going to help him get through this life. And behind him is all the things that he imagines what his life could have been if, his birth parents hadn't put him up for adoption. So it at one point it was bought by actor John Marley, who played Jack Woltz in The Godfather. He's the character in the movie that wakes up with the horse head in the bed with him. That was just before the painting kind of disappeared for years. It kind of just vanished from history. Marley sold the painting at some point. They can't really track where it was sold or who it was sold to. And it was later found abandoned behind a brewery that had been converted into an art space. The reason people believe it is haunted is because many of the people associated with this painting throughout its history have died under mysterious circumstances. And it popped back up like in the early 2000s. A couple had posted it on eBay for sale, and they claimed to have photographic evidence that it was haunted. There's been a couple of paranormal investigators that have gone through and looked at it. I've found like 3 or 4 that they talk about in the article I found. And all of them were like, no, this painting is not haunted. There's nothing weird about it. It's just a creepy ass painting because there's a child with a doll and some hands behind it. It's creepy as fuck. Apparently there is a second one. There is more in the series. There's two more. There is the original The Hands Resist Him. There was Resistance at the Threshold, and then Threshold of Revelation. Apparently in 2021, he painted a fifth one, which I'm not seeing anything about the fourth one at all. But there was apparently a fourth one. And he titled that one What Remains. Where is it? Supposedly, there was a paranormal investigator named Zach Baggins who wanted to try and buy this painting. When he failed to buy it from them, he called Bill Stoneham and told him he wanted to paint a new piece specifically for him. While he was waiting for the painting to arrive, he said he heard a children's tricycle bell ringing in the walls. When the painting arrived, it was a prequel titled The Hands Invent Him, which includes a disembodied hand connected to a tube ringing a tricycle's bell. The hand is similar to an old machine in Baggins' oddities room, which Stoneham had never seen. Baggins admits that he was totally shocked by these events. So, on the one hand, we got 3 or 4 people saying, no, there's no way this thing is haunted. And this other investigator saying, yeah, something weird is going on. I heard tricycle bell, and I have this weird contraption in my oddities room that this guy has never seen. He sent me the painting, and it's a disembodied hand attached to this machine that looks like what I have, ringing a tricycle bell. So that begs the question, is the painting actually haunted, or is it just this painter, maybe he's a touch psychic? Who knows? Or it's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
I would love to at some point find the painting of all, or a picture of all these paintings. The only one I've seen a picture of is the original, The Hands Resist Him. So I'll have to look up and see if I can find the other ones at some point. But, yeah. Creepy paintings for the win. Yeah. But, yeah.
I guess the lesson here is don't go owning any weird paintings or picking up statues you find in caves.
Yeah. I feel like that not picking up statues you find in caves should be kind of a common knowledge type of thing. Like, people should kind of just know that. But
Yeah.
I guess not.
Well, don't go viewing haunted items if they're if they come with a warning. Hey, we're doing a live feed. You may not want to watch this.
Right. But yeah, it looks like that's all we got for today.
Next week is what?
Places.
Haunted places again.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep. I got a couple in mind,
All right.
so I'll have to look and figure out which one I actually want to do. But
It's good to be back and doing it.
yeah, definitely. And hopefully now that the holiday season and whatnot is behind us, we'll be able to be more consistent and not have so many issues.
Yeah.
So
Well, things have calmed down. Hopefully, health issues are avoided.
yeah, hopefully.
I know last time we were supposed to do this, you had a migraine, and I felt like hell from this cold or whatever it is. So,
Yeah,
yeah, haunted places next time.
indeed.
Well, thank you for watching, everybody. Hopefully,
I
we
got my
creeped you
Dorothy
out.
Hospital socks.
That is the goal.
Yes, it is. Later, everybody.